Hey guys, and welcome back to my Historic NASA Missions in KSP series, episode 6. It's been a while since I've uploaded. I've had a lot going on at home, and a lot has happened in KSP since my last Historic NASA Missions video. Version 0.19 has come out, and also KSP is now on Steam. Those of us who bought KSP before it was on Steam still don't have a Steam key yet, but the devs have said that that's coming, so I'm pretty excited. I had a lot of this video already all filmed and everything, and I decided that I wanted the re-entry to be using the 0.19 re-entry effects, so I kind of redid the last part of it, and I had a lot of crashes, because I don't know, I think there's some problem with fraps working at the same time, or maybe it's my computer, I don't know. So without further ado, we're going to go right to the Gemini target vehicle that I already have waiting in orbit. Okay, so this is the Gemini target vehicle that I've made in KSP. It's already in a circular orbit. Middle we have the fuel tank, on the end we have the RCS and the actual engine. We got RCS thrusters on both sides, and then we've got an ASAS, a battery. You can't really see it, but we've got the little probe piece, the new flat octagonal, I think, probe piece, and then some lights and a docking adapter. So that is going to be the Gemini target vehicle that Gemini VIII is going to rendezvous with. So we're going to switch to the actual launch of my Gemini VIII mission, and we'll see this Gemini target vehicle up in orbit once we rendezvous with it. Okay, so here you're getting a quick view of the new launch pad minus our old launch tower. Again, we've got this Titan II launch vehicle that I've made. It's just got those asparagus staged boosters in the bottom, which aren't realistic at all, but I haven't wanted to use mods, so I don't have those dual Titan II engines that you'll see on the actual Titan II, but what's important to me right now at this point, and I think this is my last Gemini video, but at this point, what's important to me is just getting into orbit. I'm not going to go into the details of my orbital translation / transformation / whatever. At this point, I think you guys know that. If you want a more in-depth explanation of that, you can go into my other videos, but rest assured that the Gemini vehicle and the Gemini VIII actual mission vehicle are in more or less KSP translated orbits. In real life, the launch of Gemini VI happened on March 6th, or Gemini VIII happened on March 6th of 1966. It was more or less an uneventful launch, not like Gemini VI or anything like that. Really, the reason for the flight was that they needed to practice and to master rendezvous and docking due to the requirements of the Apollo missions. Because if you think back to the Apollo missions, after the lunar module landed on the moon, it needed to launch back up from the moon and rendezvous with the command module, and then dock with the command module, so that the people that had landed on the moon could get back to Earth. So it's really essential in that sort of situation to master that. So the guys that ran this mission were Neil Armstrong and Dave Scott. You may recognize one of those names. That's right, Dave Scott was the first man to drive on the moon. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously Neil Armstrong is the one that anybody's going to actually recognize. But Dave Scott was the first man to drive on the moon. He drove the lunar rover, lunar buggy, whatever you want to call it. The Gemini target vehicles, if you think back to the Gemini VI, Gemini VII mission, they routinely fail because they're more or less just an empty rocket stage. Gemini 6's obviously pretty much just blew up, and Gemini 8 was the next time they attempted to launch on a Gemini target vehicle, and it was more or less successful. There wasn't really many problems with the Gemini target vehicle. They had a problem with the they thought that the wrong program had been uploaded into it. So Jim Lovell, who was later on Apollo 13, but on this mission he was the capsule communicator, or Capcom. He was the guy who actually talked to the capsule. He advised Neil Armstrong and Dave Scott that if they had any problems with the Agena target vehicle, input program 400, which basically just transferred control. It basically shut off the Agena target vehicle, its computer systems and everything, and transferred control over to the actual pilots of the Gemini capsule. So they had a problem with the computer system on the Gemini 8 Agena vehicle, but really no other problems with it. In later Gemini missions, they had definite problems with the Agena target vehicle yet again. So it wasn't a very reliable unmanned docking target, but nevertheless, it functioned pretty well for this mission. So we're just gonna fast forward here, get into a circular orbit here, and then we're gonna probably fast forward through the actual rendezvous itself, and I'll pick back up when we're ready to dock. Okay, so we're just going up to the maneuver node here to do the circularization burn, still in a lower orbit behind the Agena vehicle. So there is the circularization burn. And actually, in a second here, we're going to change the type from a lander, because I'm using the lander cannon, to an actual capsule slash ship icon. And then that's going to be the inclination change burn. I don't quite get it right. I think I get it down to like 0.1 degree difference, but that's not a huge deal. You can see the new dark side of the planet lighting effects. It's no longer, the ship's no longer lit up by the sun anymore. It's actually looks like it's on the dark side of the planet. And if I, was far enough out, you actually can kind of see, I don't know if it's called like a halo or like limb around the planet, where like the sun on the other side of the planet is, you can kind of see it there. The sun on the other side of the planet is lighting up the atmosphere, so even though you don't have a direct line of sight to the sun, it's kind of getting refracted around, so you can kind of see it glow around the planet. So this game is really getting more and more pretty. So now we're at a point where we are more or less coming right up on the Agena target vehicle. I just jettisoned the launch vehicle. In real life, I think I've said this before, the launch vehicle is pretty much jettisoned after circularization, but I don't like wasting that fuel, so I kept it to do those last couple burns. I'm obviously not going to use it to do a rendezvous or anything. So we're getting zeroed out the velocity. Now we're getting closer to it by burning towards it, and then again we're canceling out velocity, burning towards it, and we're just gonna keep getting closer and closer and closer. And in a second, we're going to be coming up on the vehicle itself. Okay, so you can see that I'm within about half a kilometer of the Agena target vehicle there. In reality, they really first sighted the Agena target vehicle at about 140 kilometer distance, so about what, 280 times as far away as I actually am, but I kind of had the target vehicle against the backdrop of the dark Kerbin. This mission was the first critical failure of a manned space flight in American history. The only other time that this happened in space was Apollo 13, and so that means that both times that the American space program has suffered a failure, like what happened in Gemini 8 and Apollo 13, we've recovered from both of them, so I think that's pretty impressive. Obviously, we've had more dire failures like Columbia or Apollo 1, which had its disaster while still on Earth, but in space, Apollo 13 and Gemini 8 are pretty much it. You can see that we're getting closer here. Gemini 8 station kept, which I don't know if I mentioned it in my other videos, but station keeping means that you're basically staying in the same orbit and more or less nearby on their spacecraft. So Gemini 8 station kept about 50 meters away from the Gemini target vehicle for a little while, and what the purpose of that was to inspect the Agena target vehicle to make sure that it didn't have any damage, that it looked to be functioning correctly, and all that sort of thing, because Obviously, they had had problems with the Agena target vehicle in the past. But you can see that we are getting closer here, coming up on about 30 meters. And it looks to be okay. It doesn't look like it's been damaged or anything in its launch. No micrometeor strikes in the area around the planet Kerbin. But actually, here's where I started having crashes. I'm not sure. I'm going to blame it on my computer for now, but it seems to have only been happening since I updated to 0.19, and 0.1 really hasn't seemed to have fixed it. But quick saving often more or less solves the problem. But what you're going to see coming up during the actual docking sequence is going to be a little bit of creative editing, because I had to try this about 3 or 4 times to actually get it to work. Okay, so this is probably like try 3 on actually doing the docking. I had done it like, I don't know, once or twice before, and the game froze when I tried to like actually target the docking piece. So I don't know what was happening, and then I got past actually targeting the docking piece, and then I would like switch views. But this is kind of inspecting the Agena vehicle from inside. You can see everything's fine, obviously. I've got it aligned, I believe, on a southerly heading, and then I'm gonna align eventually align. This is I think another this is another attempt. So now I've got the capsule aligned on a northerly heading, so that I know that they're both pointing in the same direction, and then it's just a matter of thrusting around. I like using chase mode, like I said in my absolute beginner's guide video, because you know exactly what the translation keys are going to do, no matter what the orientation of the camera is. And we're just getting closer and closer and closer. In real life, they kind of paused, I think, I want to say about 30 seconds before they actually docked, in order to just double check everything and make sure that the vehicle was ready and the capsule was ready and ground control was all ready and everything. You can see anybody who plays Kerbal Space Program obviously knows the docking pieces are just, you can see the magnetization kind of kicking in there, and then there's the docking. Anybody who plays KSP knows that the docking pieces are just, you stick one docking piece to another docking piece. But in real life, it was kind of like almost a male and female part type setup, where you had the top of the Gemini capsule, which was able to do the docking, but you couldn't just, you know, like you could see in my Gemini VIII, Gemini VII video, both of those capsules had docking pieces on them, so in KSP they could have docked, but in real life they couldn't have docked, because it would be like putting a male adapter on a male adapter. It wouldn't work. The Agena target vehicle had the female adapter that would actually, you know, latch on and actually allow a true docking. So at some point into a little while into the docking, Neil Armstrong noticed that there was a roll on the spacecraft, and since Capcom had told him if there was any problem, shut off the Agena computer and just go into manual mode. So he shut off the Agena computer, and it seemed to fix the problem for a little while. So they figured, oh, okay, that's exactly what the problem was. There was the wrong program in the Agena vehicle. It's all set. And after a while, he noticed that the roll started up again. So what they did was, and it kept getting faster and faster and faster. And so what they did was they undocked from the Agena vehicle, because they figured there was still some sort of problem with the Agena vehicle. And then it started going faster and faster and faster once they were undocked from the Agena vehicle. So what they did was they entirely shut off the orbital attitude and maneuvering system, the OAMS, and that fixed the problem. But then they didn't have any way of actually changing their attitude, so they had to turn on the re-entry control system, which was more or less the reaction control system that helped them in maintaining the right attitude for re-entry. And during that time, you can see I'm spinning here once I'm undocked, but during that time they got close to, I think, over 1 revolution per minute, which is pretty bad, but I actually did it kind of wrong in this video. You can see this is the actual clip from Gemini VIII, and they didn't just have roll, they also had a bit of like a yaw. You can see that they're spinning and kind of rotating along a different axis at the same time, and they were still spinning while they jettisoned the Agena. You can see the Agena jettison a little bit before there. And that was basically what happened. So I got it a little bit wrong. Everything that I read said that it was just a roll, so I was just doing a roll in KSP, and it turned out it was a roll and a yaw. I was watching a great series called When We Left Earth, and they actually went over, they interviewed Neil Armstrong and everything, and they showed that clip actually they didn't show that clip, sorry. That clip was from a NASA documentary, but they mentioned that there was a roll and a yaw that they had to deal with, and that was because one of the thruster blocks was stuck on. So it was slowly just accelerating and accelerating and accelerating that attitude change. So the fact that they used the reentry control system, any fuel in the reentry control system, that prompted just an automatic abort. They had no choice, they had to abort because they had used fuel that they needed to actually do the reentry. So there you see, I did the retro burn there, and then I'm using the RCS thrusters in the back to actually do the rest of the burn as always, because I can't put enough separatrons on there. I might be able to now, because actually in the 0.19 update they changed the mass of the separatrons, so they actually have a way higher thrust to weight ratio, but that also means that they brought the mass of them down. So it went from like 0.1 mass units down to like 0.05 mass units is what I think it is. So now I'm back in the atmosphere, changing my attitude to stay kind of on a retro heading, so that the front of the spacecraft is pointing into our velocity. And you can see on our brave crew astronauts down there, Jeb is just really excited. I love these new facial expressions. I think they're like just really great. Jeb is looking out the window. Bob is kind of doing Bill is doing kind of a little dance there. And pretty soon, since we're getting deeper and deeper into the atmosphere, we're going to see these new re-entry effects. And I really like it because I think eventually they're going to have actual heat effects too, and you're going to have like a heat shield and stuff to re-enter and whatnot. But I like the re-entry effects. I've posted on Reddit a couple of comments about how it's not quite right. Like, I think there's like a misconception that most of the heat, there's the re-entry effects, most of the heat in re-entry is caused by like friction with the atmosphere, and that's not really true. Most of the heat in re-entry is caused by what's called a stagnation point on the spacecraft, which means that all that like tons and tons of velocity of air hitting the spacecraft all of a sudden comes to a stop. So that increases the pressure a lot, and by the gas laws, that increases the temperature a lot. So it's not so much just friction with the atmosphere causing the heat; it's actually pressure change that's causing the heat, which is why like the nose of the space shuttle was the hottest point of the space shuttle, because there was a stagnation point like right underneath the nose where the air just pretty much came to a complete dead stop from being at like hypersonic velocity. I kind of I missed commentating on it, but I kind of deployed the parachutes a bit early and they got burned, but thankfully they don't have the actual heat effects in there yet. But there we go. We're safe back in the western ocean of the Kerbal continent. Because in real life the planned landing site was the Atlantic Ocean, just like all the other Gemini missions, but they had to go to a backup landing site because they had to land immediately. So they landed just I believe east of Japan, off of Okinawa. So they had to use the backup recovery forces to rescue these guys, and it remains to date the furthest that any spacecraft has landed from its original planned landing site, because it was supposed to land by Bermuda and the Bahamas, and they ended up pretty much all the way across the world in the Pacific Ocean. So there we go. We've got our view out of the capsule, which is completely unrealistic since this is a lander can, not real capsule, but Neil Kerr Armstrong and his buddy Dave Kerr Scott, I guess, back on Kerbin. Shout out to, I believe, Venema Productions, who has been asking if I have a Carnavy. I really don't have a Carnavy. I think that I might make a Carnavy to do kind of a rescue in my future video. Maybe Apollo 13, since getting rescued was kind of a huge deal in Apollo 13 because of the disaster of Apollo 13. So I might try to make like a Kerbal aircraft carrier or something in that video. Anyway, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did like the video, feel free to hit the like button. If you want to see my future videos, feel free to hit subscribe. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to comment. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.